Good evening. I'd like to call to order this special June 27th, 2023 Old Bridge Township Council meeting. Will everyone please rise? We'll do a pledge of allegiance, and then please remain standing for a moment of silence and a prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's customary in this chamber, we stand for a moment to remember those who are protecting our freedoms, both here and abroad, for our first responders, for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. A moment of silence, please. Mr. Pasquitti, our prayer.
Dear Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give us quiet minds and hearts that we may hear your voice. Help us to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give us strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right. And grant that we have a good conscience, that soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
Roll call. Councilperson DeCaro?
Here.
Councilperson DePalma?
Here.
Councilperson Desai?
Here.
Councilperson Garcia?
Here.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli? Here. Let the record reflect that Councilperson Murphy is absent. Councilperson Pasquitti?
Here.
Council Vice President Walker?
Here.
And Council President Sohar.
Here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
This meeting's being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the official newspapers of the township on June 23rd, 2023, and has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the Township Council will be held on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. Take notice that this special meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Old Bridge will be held in the Old Bridge Municipal Complex, 1 Old Bridge Plaza, Old Bridge, New Jersey, at 6 o'clock p.m. and is open to the public. Formal action may be taken on the agenda items listed or any other matters as may come before the Township Council.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay.
So first item is the block party.
Okay.
So, Council President, this is a block party request for 40 Southwood Drive to be held on July 4th, 2023, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And we have Councilman Pasquitti, who is here to speak on his block party.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Tony Pasquitti, 40 Southwood Drive. My kids have always had a barbecue with the neighbors every 4th of July. And it usually turns out to be really good. And this year they wanted to have a block party. And it's just cutting off Sunrise, just 2 driveways. It's a small area, just so they can play in the street and stuff. So that's about it.
And so we did receive all the proper requirements set forth that they have been met. We've received confirmation from the Chief of Police, from our OEM, and from our fire marshal. So everything's set, and I believe everything is in order for the block party to take place.
Okay. So you're good to go.
Okay, I appreciate your vote of yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're going to take a roll call. Councilperson, do you want to open to the public on that?
Yeah, I have to open to the public first. Is there anyone in the public who would like to be heard on this block party? Anybody want to come? No, I'm teasing. Okay, so seeing no hands.
Whoever wants.
I'm sorry, Tony. Just keep cooking. Seeing no hands, I will close the public and now go to a roll call from the council, please.
Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson DePalma.
Yes.
Councilperson Desai.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes, thank you.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes.
And Council President Sohar.
Yes. Okay, Tony, enjoy.
So we do need to take a motion and a second for a recess for about 15 minutes while we wait for our Township Council to appear for our public hearings on our liquor licenses. So may I get a motion?
Motion.
Second,
Dr. Greenberg, Belli, who seconded?
I did.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Right. We need to wait a few minutes. Our attorney is, he should be here momentarily, but we can proceed with these proceedings without our attorney. So it just will be hopefully a few minutes. He had told me maybe 10 after 6, so we're hoping for, quick resolution to this. I apologize, but traffic is a little crazy at this hour.
Okay, so we're going to take a roll call on the motion to take a recess. Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Desai? Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yeses, so we will come back into adjournment around 6:20. Okay?
To bring the gentleman up to speed, we are on a recess. We're waiting for our attorney. He was caught in traffic. He will be here momentarily.
Arrived, would we like to take a motion to re-enter open?
Please.
Move it.
Okay, so it's moved by Mr. De Palma and second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
And roll call, Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Desai? Councilperson Garcia?
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker?
Yes.
And Council President Sohar?
Yes.
8 yeses, we are re-entering open session at 6:11.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and now we'll proceed with the meeting, and thank you for your patience. It was very appreciated. Okay, the first one will be, are we good, guys? Are we good? Okay. All right. H2, resolution granting application for plenary retail consumption license renewal for Route 35 Associates, license number 1209-33-035-008 for the 2023-2024 license term with conditions. Good evening.
Good evening. Anthony Spalero, representing Route 35 Associates, LLC.
Are we good, Kate?
I'm sorry.
Everything in order?
Yes, this is for Route 35 Associates for, it's Jersey Girls.
Yes.
And they have met all of the requirements to renew. There were some stipulations on their license which would continue. So you are in agreement with the stipulations placed on your license?
Yes, I agree to all the conditions on the license.
Does anyone from the council have questions? Seeing no hands, I will open it to the public. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to be heard on this matter? Seeing no hands, I will close the public, and I will ask for a motion. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mr. Garcia.
Roll call, Councilperson DeCaro,
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma,
Yes.
Councilperson Desai, Councilperson Garcia,
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli,
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti,
Yes.
Councilperson Walker,
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. H3, resolution granting application for plenary retail consumption license renewal for Sideline Lounge Incorporated, Club 516. License number 1209-33-004-002 for the 2023-2024 license term with conditions. Good evening.
Hi.
So yes, this gentleman from, Sideline Lounge, Club 516, has met all the requirements set forth by ABC guidelines. Their tax clearance has been paid to date, and they are ready to renew with the outstanding conditions of,
On Friday and Saturdays from 6 p.m. to closing, the licensee will have someone on duty at the door to check IDs and the parking lot to be patrolled to make sure people are not gathering.
I agree to that.
Okay, so you're good with the terms, correct? Okay, anyone on council have a question for the gentleman? Okay, I'll open it to the public. Is there anyone here on the public who wishes to be heard on this matter? Seeing no hands, I'll close the public portion, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move it.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yep, Walker, second by Mr. De Palma.
Second.
Okay,
Roll call, Councilperson DeCaro,
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma,
Yes.
Councilperson Desai, Councilperson Garcia,
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Councilperson Walker.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
43 years. Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a good night. H4, resolution renewing plenary retail consumption license for Sarthy Corporation, 1209-33-019-007 in the Township of Old Bridge with conditions. Good evening.
Yes, hi. This is for liquor license 1209-33-019-007 for Sarthy Corporation. They have also come in compliance and had no tax clearance issues. They just are looking to be renewed with the current outstanding restrictions of,
Digital surveillance to continues for 7 days of recording.
are you in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone on the council have a question for the gentleman? Mr. Pasquitti.
Yeah, where's the location? What is,
It's right behind Walgreens, right on Matawan, Morristown Road.
okay, thank you.
Anyone else for the gentleman? Okay, I'll open it to the public. Is there anyone here in the public who wishes to be heard on this matter? Seeing no hands, I'll close public portion and ask for a motion.
Move it.
Okay, moved Mr. Desai, seconded by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Roll call. Councilperson DeCaro,
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Desai. Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Councilperson Paskiddy.
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. H5, resolution renewing plenary retail consumption license renewal for Red Zebra LLC, a gentleman's club, license number 1209-33-009-003 for the 2023-2024 license term with conditions.
Madam President, this one's a little unique in that the township clerk received an objection to the renewal that was filed. Timely notice of the objection was provided to, I should say that, step back. The hearing, a notice of the hearing regarding the renewal was provided to the applicant's counsel, as well as the representative of the objectors as well. We note that, that being said, this one's going to take a little bit longer.
Oh,
Is there council representation for Red Zebra?
okay.
Come on up, state
Good
your name
evening.
for the record, please. Okay, Mr. Nolan. So, as Mr. Roselli said, Red Zebra did have their tax clearance taken care of, and they did file a petition in a timely fashion, but that we did receive a, what do you call it, like a complaint as far as
An objection to the
an
renewal.
objection to renewing the license for this license term.
I believe there's a representative from the objectors.
Yes.
You can just give your name for the record.
James Sullivan, President and resident of Barrington Ridge Homeowners Association.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Sullivan.
I know the first gentleman, he's actually a retired cop.
He's on the portal, though.
No.
Right, as long as they're not on the portal.
So do we want to spell out the current objections, or how do we proceed?
Well, I guess initially, Mr. Nolan had communicated to the extent I could give him information. I gave him some information. I believe the objector he handed me a packet. I haven't had a chance to renew it. But basically, there's a series of things. I think as part of the investigation, the police department also had recommended additional conditions be imposed on the applicant for the renewal of the license. That was based upon investigations conducted by the police department and a series of complaints that were filed with the police department. Those conditions include the police department's recommending 6 special conditions that the chief have also concurred with. And those conditions that the Red Zebras not to create any excessive noise or play music between the hours of 11:30 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, except for Saturday, Sunday, and New Year's Day, when the hours shall be between 12:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. The Red Zebra is to close its establishment have at 12 a.m. midnight, Monday through Friday, except for Saturday, Sunday, and New Year's Day, wherein hours shall be till 1 a.m. There shall be no loitering of any such in the rear parking lot of the establishment. All exterior doors to the Red Zebra must be closed at all times while the establishment is open for business and music is played. A smoking area must be designated in the front of the business, the Route 34 side, which is to be monitored by personnel of the Red Zebra to ensure no loitering occurring or excessive noisemaking. The Old Bridge Police Department is to be granted authorization to install a community crime camera on the outside of the building with Red Zebra providing power and internet if the police department feels it is required. The police department will supply the camera, wiring, and install the camera, and the police department will coordinate with Red Zebra if they decide to proceed with that particular condition. Some of the events that led to this, there were a series of complaints over the past year, which were responded to by our police department. Is there someone from the department present? Were you the investigator? Okay, and you prepared the report? Maybe it'd be better if you come forward and you can, if you have a copy, you can provide it. Detective Caffey, is that how you say that? I'm sorry. This is Detective Jessica Caffey, and Detective Caffey actually, I apologize, Detective, I should have asked if you're present first. If she conducted the investigation, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And the investigation, as I mentioned, you had suggested 6 conditions be included to the liquor license, is that correct?
That's correct.
And the conditions that I had read, those are the 6 conditions that you had suggested or suggested be included for the renewal of the license?
That's correct.
And you presented that to the chief, and the chief concurred with that recommendation?
That's correct.
Again, if you could provide to council and the applicant and also the public, the investigation that was conducted and the results of the investigation, which led to your recommending these conditions be imposed.
Sure. So this department was basically notified back in November of 2022 that the Red Zebra was under a new management. And since then, the call volume significantly increased. And we've been there a total of 30 times since that new management came into place. And there's been Old Bridge Township ordinance violations. I believe there's 3 of them that were issued for the establishment staying open later than the ordinance states, which is 30-9. We've also had several assault calls, aggravated assault, dispute, noise complaints, loud music. And just for this memo, I referred a few that kind of support the conditions that I had asked to be in place, which include just recently, June 4th of this year, we had an aggravated assault at the establishment, and that was in the early morning hours around 3:57 a.m. But there's a slew of other. We've had multiple noise complaints, May 20th of 2023, 2 a.m., loud music. For reference, patrol, they observed that the exterior door of the business was ajar, which causes the music to be heard by the surrounding residents. But once the door was secured and closed, the music had diminished and it wasn't as loud. In addition, when the establishment is closing for the evening, patrol responded to the establishment in the rear parking lot. There was a gathering of people leaving for the evening and causing excessive noise as well. Also, we've had a couple of assaults, disputes. Some occur inside, some occur outside, so this has been reoccurring. We've been going to the establishment several times a week, sometimes even more, but it's always during the early morning hours.
Ms. Caffey, I noted you, in your report, you had highlighted 5 incidences, but in another report, based upon an investigation from January 22, was that January of 2022 or January 22nd of this year? There's a list of,
Oh, are you talking about the yearly inspection report?
correct, right?
Okay, yeah, so that is from January of 2022 to, I'm sorry, June of 2022 to June of 2023, and that's for all the establishments.
Okay.
So that's just the yearly report.
All right.
This memo is just from November of 2022, establishing the new management that the business has been under.
Right, so for the annual report, you had noted a series of, I guess these were complaints, investigations as well.
Yes.
That are numbered A through X. So I guess that's 24. I didn't remember my alphabet right. 24 other complaints, and are the 5 that you highlighted in addition to the 24 previous?
They're also,
They're included, okay.
yes.
And again, those included the loud music, as you indicated. There are multiple loud music complaints, noise complaints, the assault complaint, township ordinance violations, and there's harassment as well. Again, the township ordinance violation, that is in reference to being open after hours.
That's correct.
Now, in those instances for the ordinance violations, were summons issued?
Yes,
And do you know the dispositions of those summonses?
I don't.
Do you have anything else to add, Detective?
Nope, that's
Report, okay.
Thank you.
Maybe if we can hear from Mr. Nolan in regards to the complaint raised by the police department and the additional conditions.
I just pushed the button.
Just press, you're good.
good.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it doesn't stand, I have to stand on my account.
First, I want to clarify that when we're talking about complaints, we're talking about police calls. They're not complaints. They're not criminal complaints signed on every case. When we're speaking about how many complaints there were, those are police calls. They are not signed complaints. They're not charging documents as to what formally is a complaint. So that's what we're talking about. Not that that's okay. And my understanding is that none of these matters have been adjudicated. There's another attorney that's handling the matters in municipal court, and my understanding is that those matters are pending. And so there are no, to my understanding, there are no adjudications, and I can be corrected, but my understanding is that there are no adjudications yet on any of these matters. This, and certainly the officer is correct that these rash of calls are a product of the management that took over in November. The original owners wish to come back and take over control and eliminate the people that have been in the management since November. And I think even if asked, Detective Caffey would confirm that, and has already said actually, that these problems have really originated since November. So what we're really looking for is a chance to come back in and take over. The conditions that are proposed right now are extremely onerous and would make business nearly impossible. This is a dance club, as you know. To require them to turn off the music while they're opened would essentially put them out of business. They have no objection to all of the other conditions. They seek to or request not to restrict the hours, but instead to allow the old management to come back in. This is Larry Rosenberg, who was the old management since what, 2018?
I opened it in 2018 for Mr. Lita, and I've been in the business since 1988, and I ran a very clean Detective Cafe, and I've been renewing the license year after year. I've had no problems, no complaints. I had a decimal meter in there. I'm willing, if you'll work with me, they're going to have, I took some time off because I was going to get my knees done, but I'm fine, and I'm willing to go back and fix it.
Just want to clarify, Mr. Reynolds, again, you indicate new management. So it's the same owner, they just have somebody come in and operate the facility on behalf of the owner?
Yes, with a lot of leeway,
And
A
I
lot
have
of
no problem.
discretion. So, the owner was not present as much as he should have been. And so it changed everything. It changed the dynamics of the club. It changed a lot of things. And we would like the opportunity to turn that around, correct it, and clean it up and be a better neighbor. I don't want to get into all these things one by one. You can see them, and some of them are related to patrons in the parking lot and other things that weren't necessarily caused by the club itself, caused by patrons mostly. But either way, it's
Which
still-
frequent the facility?
Yes.
Right, I mean, so obviously, I think you would agree that once the patron leaves the door and is in the parking lot, I think there's still an obligation of the establishment to control that activity
There
as
is,
well.
but certainly there's a limited amount of control, but yes, there is. And I've read through all the police reports, and in many of them, they acknowledge the cooperation of the staff that was there in helping to get people out and to quiet people down, things of that nature. But regardless, the issue here is the management. Clearly, the history was good before November, and it got a lot worse after.
When did the management, this current management, when did they take over?
My understanding is November of '22,
Yeah, November of '22.
and I think Detective Caffey will tell you that there was a serious spike in police calls after that, since then.
Are you finished, at least for now? I just wanted
Yeah.
to let council hear from representative of the objector. If you could, or if you would, I should say.
Thank you, Madam President. I have prepared a packet for each and every one of the council members that I would like to hand out. I have one for council as well, if that's to your liking. It's all business records from the township. There's 2 pictures from a GIS of the property that I'd like just to walk the council around so they get a better understanding of what's going on.
I'll hand them out for you. Sure, I'll hand them out for you, I meant, you didn't have to.
Council, I'll give you one. Madam Council President Soho, all members of the council, Madam Clerk Hutchinson, Township Attorney Roselli, and the mayor is now on the dais as well. As spokesman for our community, we come before the council as an objector to the unrestricted renewal of the liquor license issued to premises doing business as Red Zebra Gentlemen's Club. The physical address is 238 Highway 34, Manawan. The Farrington Ridge community is comprised of 25 townhomes built on one oval-shaped roadway with ingress and egress from Route 34. Our street is just east of Bramble and west of Farrington Road. Our population is 55 adults and 7 minors. Some of our residents are here this evening, and they all may wish to share their personal stories supporting restrictions. If you look on page number 1, that's the view of the outside. It's a Google map picture of the premises. On page 2, it's a GIS, that's a Geographical Imaging Systems Mapping. This is taken from the township website. What you see on the right-hand side in a trapezoid-type fashion is the property in question, 238 Highway 18, the licensed premise. To your left, as you look, this is, due north is right to the top of the page. Although 34 is north and south, in this area, due north would be above us. So it's east to the right, west to the left. So we sit just west, and you can see the entranceway to Farrington Ridge. The next page gives you a better picture of the community in relationship to the licensed premise. Our community homes were completely occupied by 2005. We are all well aware of the fact that a license at 238 Highway 34 has been in existence long before our community was even a thought. I'm personally aware that it was there in the mid-'70s under a different name, later becoming Tommy's Angels, then the Marleybone Pub, and most recent, the two different operators as the Red Zebra. Farrington Ridge homes are located within Block 10252.25, Lot 26. The licensed premises are located on Block 10252.25, Lot 38, and is east of the community. Our lot lines, as you can see, abut each other for the entire depth of the bar's western end of their property. The Red Zebra advertises its hours on signage on the western side of the building as being open daily 1 p.m. to 3 a.m. A primary feature of the licensed premise is live entertainment in the form of go-go dancing. Normally, go-go type dancing is done with a DJ or recorded music is played. The music is the reason we appear before you tonight. What used to be back in the day, this type of live entertainment was performed to a jukebox, usually playing top 40s, or on a reel-to-reel tape recorder. Modern times has brought us live DJ playing what is termed dance music or techno pop. It's a dominant feature of music. The dominant feature of the music is a constant rhythmic beat from subwoofers. I'm sure we've all experienced being in our cars or our homes when this extremely loud subwoofer bass music can be heard approaching from afar in an automobile. As it gets closer, it can literally rattle the windows in your home. On a regular basis, when the Red Zebra is open for business, this is the same type of bass sounds that roll across our property lines, at times when the average working class person is trying to sleep. All but two of our townhouses have working families, with those two owned by retirees who also cannot sleep due to the noise. I've shown you the GIS pictures so you had a relative position on that. Page 4 is just a matter of record that comes with the GIS picture. And it just denotes a sale back in July 13 of 2011 on this property. And it gives an owner an address below. It shows the property is 0.49 acres. It's just under a half acre. As you go through the packet, the next thing would be Chapter 300 of the noise ordinance. In particular, I'd point out in the definitions on page number 6, multi-dwelling unit buildings, multi-use properties, noise disturbance, plainly audible, and real property line. It continues on section A on number 7 to commercial facilities, and then B, multi-dwelling units. Page 8, I've highlighted section I under 300-4, and that speaks with reference to music amplification or reproduction equipment.
Say number 7,
I'm sorry?
the highlight didn't come through. You said you
I didn't highlight yours.
Okay.
It was just for my reference. But it is section I, so that's on page 8 that I'm referring to. Lastly, it's on section L on the next page. It's prohibited to willfully make or cause to be made any audible noise which is deemed objectionable because of voice frequency or beat, or which creates a noise disturbance. Interestingly enough, I point out on the very next page, 10, another ordinance of the township. This ordinance was put into effect, adopted on 8/28/95 by ordinance number 40-95, and it's entitled Adult Entertainment. The purpose of the ordinance speaks for itself. The purpose of this article is to eliminate live entertainment, adult entertainment, commonly known as go-go, from premises licensed to sell alcoholic beverages within the Township of Old Bridge. Premises which presently conduct such entertainment are temporarily exempted from this article. In the event of a license of any such premises is transferred person to person, the provisions of this article shall apply. And then it goes through the definitions, and in essence, what happened back then was the town wanted to get rid of go-go dancing, and there were several of them in the town. So slowly, they wanted to phase them out, and that was what this particular ordinance spoke to. I'll get back to that in a minute. When the bar changed to the Red Zebra, the facade was changed as well, and they kind of moved, I think, what used to be an apartment or a townhouse on the top floor where the previous owner lived, and moved it over to the other side. Not that that's important, but while they did that, I believe the main entrance and one ramp door for ADA compliance is now in the back of the building, where entrance used to be in the front side of the building facing Route 34. Apparently, both doors open directly into the bar room. I can't say I've been inside, but without an interior vestibule to aid in buffering of the sound. So every time someone comes in, that sound increases and rolls across the property line. I would guess that the building itself probably dates back to the mid-1900s, when insulation was rare and heating products were rather cheap. I would attribute the lack of buffering or soundproofing in the interior that allows the loud music to bleed through the walls and across the lot line of the properties. So as a result of the internal complaints from our homeowners, I filed a number of OPA requests from the township clerk. And I received them all back in timely fashion. And not to go through each and every one, but very similar to what Detective Kathy said, there was a total of, that I received back, there was a total of 19 calls for police, and 16 of those 19 were noise. Well, what you see in the packet is my requests, probably on page 12, 13, 14, 15, and then the Vaughan Index, and for those, the Vaughan Index merely is why they have to redact certain matters from the complaints that the public can receive in an OPA request. And they did, and then there's names and, I should say, addresses, important dates of birth, et cetera, they're redacted. Other than that, the following package from 19 through almost to the end of the pack contains all of those complaints that I received. Now, what's interesting, I'll circle back to the article on live entertainment. And while that was enacted in 1999, back in, excuse me for 1 minute, August 18 of 2010, there was an application made. And the application was made to purchase the liquor license of then the Marleybone, which did business, and it was incorporated as Country Hearth, Inc. And the transfer was to go to Red Zebra LLC for a consumption license. That application was filled out and is a matter of public record. And Mr. Lita, who you've heard his name mentioned tonight, was the purchaser. So therefore, there was an actual person-to-person transfer back in 2010. And in fact, council approved that on December 13th of 2010, the transfer of the license. However, I don't think that it somehow didn't trigger the ordinance to come into effect. Now, one of the things
I
that...
can address that.
Interesting?
Yeah, I can address that.
Oh, okay.
Actually, apparently, there was litigation that had ensued by Country Hearth, and they sued the township. And a consent order was entered back in October 14th, 2010, in Middlesex County, and it was entered October 4th. And I think there was a issue dealing with the transfer from Marleybone's Pub to the Red Zebra, and the court had ordered, and it's 6 paragraphs. The court acknowledged that the plaintiff has a valid non-conforming use as a go-go bar that predates the Township Ordinance, Chapter 14. The court permitted the plaintiff, which was Marley, Country Hearth, Inc., which was, I think its trade name was Marley Bones Pub, was permitted to transfer its liquor license with its existing non-conforming use to a prospective buyer. The buyer passes all their state and municipal requirements to obtain the liquor license without complying with Chapter 14. Also, the court also indicated that Chapter 14 would not be applicable to plaintiff's liquor license or to the transferee, and the transferee would have the right to the non-conforming use as the plaintiff had, and then also included any existing conditions attached to the aforesaid license would remain in effect, and no new conditions would be attached to the license as part of the transfer process, and in all other respects, Chapter 14 would remain in full force and effect. There was a consent order entered by Judge Happis at the time and signed by the attorney for the plaintiff, who was Lawrence Cantor, and Jerome Convery on behalf of the township.
I wasn't aware that there was a court, I know what the court order stemmed from, but I didn't know that that overtook the ordinance and that was allowed. So I take no issue with that then.
I didn't know either, I just found out.
Okay. I do say that it is readily known, however, at the last meeting of the council on the 13th of this month, that it was announced on a personal transfer that no go-go could take place. It was the Grillstone on 516 and a person-to-person transfer. So I know that was mentioned as part of the record, so I would hope that that continues forward. I know it won't be applicable to this license.
Right, I think, I don't know the basis of the lawsuit. Obviously, I think the fact that the business existed previous to the adoption of the ordinance, I think is probably the basis in which the court allowed the transfer to occur and not to impose the restriction that was intended by Chapter 14, without knowing the complaint.
I read the court case. I didn't know it took that, and it.
That's my guess.
The details of that really have nothing to do with this, and I understand that. So to close, I would just state that owning a liquor license in this state is a privilege and not a right. With ownership comes responsibilities. Responsibilities as specified in Title 33 of the state statutes, along with the rules and regulations as set forth by the New Jersey Division of Alcoholic Beverage Control. Additionally, as licensing is done by the municipal ordinance, owners and their employees are equally responsible for adherence to those ordinances and the conduct of their patrons, both inside their building and outside in their parking areas. Moreover, as a business operation, they have a responsibility to consider the effects of their business on their neighbors. At the end of the night, the owner, the employees, the patrons all go home after their day of work or entertainment and look forward to the peace and quiet of their own homes. They would likely be the same people who would demand serenity from any disturbances. Our community expects nothing less. Our investments are in our home. We can't go home. We're already there. We respectfully ask the council for consideration. We thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
I don't, I guess at this point, being that the hearing has been open, there's other members of the public present who may want to speak in reference to this particular hearing. They can come forward.
Is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this? Okay.
You can just indicate whether you're resident or non-resident of the township.
Yes, I am a resident of Farrington Ridge.
Thank you.
I've been a resident there for about 18 years. And I just want to bring to the attention of, as it was said before, there were other establishments there prior to this one where we really didn't have a problem. Yes, there were some noise complaints here and there, but nothing as we've seen since this new management took over. There are nights that I'm laying in my bed and I hear the bass of the constant music at 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We've called. And it's just, again, a respect thing. If I were in my backyard playing that music loudly, I'm sure someone would call the neighbors on me, and they would come to my home and tell me to, tone it down and shut my music off. So we just ask the same respect so that we could enjoy and, it seems like there's some kind of different clientele as well. Since, like the officer said, there's been assaults, complaints of assault. We had a cab of an 18-wheeler come into our development and park the cab there and then walk over to the establishment. It just seems that there's something changed with this new management company, and it's been downhill ever since then. And I have 2 young girls. Sometimes it's safety that's an issue with me, them being open that late with alcohol involved. 34 right there, I hear the revving of cars, all hours of the night, motorcycles, all hours of the night. When the door is open, yes, you tend to hear the music more, but also when the door is shut, you hear that bass pounding, at all hours of the night. So it's a nuisance, it's annoying, and I just want to be, at peace again. So I just wanted to come forth and say that.
Thank you very much.
What are the hours of operation?
When I was there.
No, currently.
Currently, they're open till 2, and they can be open during the day. They've been opening up at 6 o'clock.
6 p.m., 6 a.m.? 6 p.m.
I opened up for lunch right through.
So currently they're open 6 p.m. to 2 a.m.?
I think they're 3, aren't they 3 on a weekday? Which one?
Mr. Roselli, they're 3 on Friday and Saturday into Sunday.
Okay.
It has been 3 on Friday and Saturday. The ordinance says Saturday, Sunday because it's rolling
Going
over
into
from the
next
night
day.
before. So they were allowed to be open till 3, so typically it would be, I think, 3 on Saturday and Sunday, meaning Friday night and Saturday night. But whenever.
Would you like to come forward and speak? Good
Hi,
evening.
my name is Leo Garzbin. I'm a resident. My property is right across the fence. Okay, my bedroom window is overlooking the parking lot. Now, the music inside of the place is the least of my worries. It's the people outside of the place. Okay, first of all, people coming in and out, you can hear the cars because there's no pavement. It's just gravel. You can hear cars coming in and out. Then people come out, you name it, yelling, screaming, laughter. I don't mind people having a good time, but, a little regard to the neighborhood would be nice. People on motorcycles, people revving engines for no purpose, for no reason whatsoever. Playing music in the cars, in the parking lot. 3 o'clock in the morning, it's my usual night. I can't sleep. That's it. Complete disregard to the neighborhood. Complete. If I may make a suggestion, okay? You have a record of the phone calls to the police, right? You have timestamps. They have cameras outside. Maybe you can subpoena the video footage so you can correspond the phone calls to what's going on in the parking lot. See for yourself. Get the video footage. I hate calling the police, but I have to. It's wasting the city resources and taxpayers' money. There's no choice. The people can sleep. My bedroom window is literally across the fence, overlooking the parking lot. See the video.
Survey. I could. Now, did you notice an increase of complaints since this new management, so-called new management?
Well, first of all, this gentleman here, he said that the phone calls, the volume increased since November, right? Before November, the place was shut down. It didn't work. There was nobody there. So there is no phone calls, nothing to complain about. They opened back up in November, and since November, it's just unbearable.
So I'm sorry, so was it closed prior to that?
It was closed.
During COVID.
There was no phone calls, obviously, there was no complaints, because there's nothing to complain
Right.
about.
So let me, can I ask you a question? How long has it been closed from when to when?
About 5 months.
For 5 months, was it?
It was closed for a couple of years, it was quiet.
Right,
That's not true, because I was there.
right, so was it open at all besides from November
Well,
2022?
No, it wasn't from November to 22.
Right,
They put the new management in.
I get that.
Okay. I had closed down probably about 5 to 6 months before that.
All right, so,
I thought I was going to get my knees done.
okay, so at some point in 2022, which 5 months would give you to, what, June? So approximately June of 2022, you closed. Now, was it open from January to June of 2022?
I was there.
And the record is clear that the license was renewed each year.
It was.
So-
There were conditions, except there was a snafu last year, but, and so then how about in 2021?
We were open.
Okay. And then 2020,
I was there from May 15th of 2018, right till around COVID.
okay.
But
So,
I had decimal meters inside. We
well,
did-
hold on, I know, I'll get to, I am trying to determine when it was open, when it wasn't open, when the noise complaints increased, because obviously, quote-unquote, COVID, COVID has this long life. Seems to be going longer and longer. So it seems, I would take it, at some point in 2020, you closed because of COVID.
I closed for about 2 months, and then I came back and reopened because they had all kinds of restrictions. I actually had permits from the town to put it outside, and because it was so costly to put up tents and everything, and they would really be screaming at me, we decided not to. We
Okay, so basically, for all of 2020, you weren't operating?
I was operating, I wasn't doing Sunday, Monday.
Okay.
Or Tuesday, I was doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And I would imagine the volume of,
Sorry.
quote-unquote clientele wasn't as great.
No, absolutely not.
I would imagine that continued probably even into 2021.
Yeah, there was, business was not, and that was with all the businesses.
So, right, that's why I get that, and especially your business, I guess that really had an impact.
Yeah.
So that being said, that could account for the number of quote-unquote calls where they were reduced because the sheer number of people weren't there, and the time that was open was different. How long have you been living in the development?
Since 2010.
Oh, 2022, okay. When did development open?
2004,
2004.
completed in 5.
Okay. So how about prior to, prior to 2019, right, when quote-unquote COVID hit? What was the tenor that, then, because I was here a number of years.
Before the name change or after the name change?
Well, 2019 was still Red Zebra, wasn't it?
The woman who got up is a original resident of the community. I'm also a original
Right.
resident. The Marleybone Pub name was on it and had been closed for years.
Right.
I'm assuming the owner they're speaking about transferred this license in 10
Right,
and reopened.
right. So when it reopened, do you remember when that was approximately?
10, the end of 10,
Okay.
probably beginning of 11.
Okay, so because I've been here since, I guess, 2011, 12? 2012, and I know there's been conditions, but I don't recall there being, obviously, these objections. So I'm trying to get a gauge from, let's say, that time frame up until, COVID, where the number of, was it as loud, was it as boisterous, was it as problematic?
What went back as to the noise, the restrictions that I remember that were placed on the Marleybone was that they wanted the cameras, surveillance, and that they wanted a security person.
The,
Those are the only two that I recall at that time when it happened.
right, there were surveillance, digital surveillance inside the bar and the exterior of the parking lots. And then they had to
But the
comply with
problem is
Board of
it
Health
was
stuff.
never operated out of the back. They operated out of the front. And in truthfulness, I think it might be in their best interest to consider having people go through the front door.
So how about as far as the, the parking lot and all that, like we just heard here, the noise, the people hanging out in the parking lot, I'll call it loitering, that's my word. Was it as prevalent?
Was it not? No, it wasn't, because it closed up. And then when they opened back up, they did a lot of work. And it was probably a year or two before they actually reopened, right? And they put a nice facade on it.
Right.
And there was a closure for COVID. And then one of the reasons I asked for November was because I think it was November 21st or 22nd of 22 when the reopening.
Right.
Of course, it was a new thing, I get it, that it reopened, and it was a quick attraction to people.
Yeah.
That faded a little bit.
So I'm just, again, I'm trying to understand from 2010 up until 2019.
Well, it was closed for a number of years. There was no business.
All right. But at some point, it was open during that time
From
frame?
5 to 10.
I'm only interested in after 2010.
What do you want to do, 18?
Go ahead. After 2010.
I opened May of 15th of 2018.
Okay.
Okay, I closed for a couple of months
All right.
during COVID. I opened up just the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of all the
Okay,
restrictions.
so from 2010 up until 2018, it wasn't really operating. So then 2018 is the renewal.
Hence the volume of phone calls to the police. That explains the phone calls to the police.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get, I'm just
Local.
trying to get a gauge of the activity before or after, that's all, so the council has a clear understanding of that. That's all, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Is there anyone else in the public? Good evening.
Mitchell Zahn Trucking. We've been at our location since 1968. I'm a lifelong resident, as are my parents and my grandparents. They were closed for a number of years. All these good people are correct in being annoyed. They reopened before COVID. Really was not a problem. They closed for about 2 months for COVID, possibly 3 months, and reopened. And yes, business was not what it is now. It was much less people coming and going. But since November, it's escalated, and I can't blame anybody for being upset. We try very, very hard to get along with our neighbors and be respectful of our neighbors. And I show up at 1 a.m. in the morning to start my day, and on the first day, I could hear the noise, the bass pounding, and I knew something changed. And Larry was always very respectful, so I called him. He says, yes, I'm no longer the manager. And from that time on, it has escalated. But when Larry was there was very little issue. And us being there with trucks, we've had trucks park on our property recently to go in there, and we don't tolerate it because we would not want any of the neighbors to think it was us. And I just want to say that, in my opinion, if the old management was back in charge, a lot of this would go away.
Your business is in close proximity to,
Our property joins
On the other side.
the bar and also the homeowners association. We own around their property.
you're the donut.
Correct. So we, like I say, we try our very best to get along with all the neighbors. We've had many neighbors stop and compliment us on trying to keep the place clean and quiet. And we understand that.
You done? I'm sorry, I'll cut you short. I just
I'm
had a
sorry?
question for Mr. Sullivan. I just had a question.
Sure.
Not for you, for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you have anything else to add?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much.
Has there been any incidents of property damage on, in your development?
I can't say that there was any property damage. There's the occasional beer bottle here and there. I can't attest that it goes
From
from
there,
them.
right.
It could be anybody driving through. But I would say no damage.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to come up and be heard?
For the record, Mr. Zahn's trucking, if you look at page 3, he's right below the trapezoid. So that's his property.
All right.
And he runs a trucking outfit, and it's a very nice, clean business. He actually goes to Farrington Road.
What's below his property? Are they single-family homes?
Homes below there. That's Farrington Road.
Is there any more, I don't know if anybody from the any other public members?
Yes, you can come forward, please. Good evening.
Good evening. I am Julie. I live on Russell Court, which is I'm a resident for 7 years, since 2017. Like Leo, my house backs, my bedroom backs directly to the club. Sad to say, there are times where I'm in my bed at night and I don't feel safe. The screaming is very loud. I've had to call the police. I am scared. There could be an incident happen. There is fighting. Now I learned that there's official assault cases. Like they said, it was not like this when I lived there prior. It really ranked up the activity in November. So not sure if management would be able to enforce a change in the hangout outside. They don't seem to do anything now. It's very loud. I don't know if there's security at the back gate or they enforce people to, or encourage them to go home after hours. It seems that everyone seems to hang out in the back lot.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you sharing. Anyone else there would like to come up and be heard? Okay, seeing no hands, then we'll close the public portion.
You may want to open up to council if council has questions.
Exactly, yeah. I'd like, anyone on the council have a question? Yeah. Mrs. DeCaro?
Yeah, I have a few, just some clarification items. When does the new management plan to take over, or have you done that already?
I can start tomorrow.
Okay. And
And the base can be turned down. 'Cause I know that's a big issue. When I was there before, I had decimal meters. If you don't know what a decimal meter, it's on the wall so the DJ could see it, so it can't go past a certain number, so it doesn't drive everybody crazy. We do have a vestibule from the back. There's two doors. There's a door and there's a hallway and there's another door. And that door was, the inside door was always closed. So if you went out, the noise, that closed and you went out the back. So I didn't have these problems.
And how long has the owner known about these problems that have been occurring since approximately November of 2022? So this is what concerns me, is the only, you're taking over, but only because this is happening right now. Why hasn't this been addressed prior to now?
I was getting my knees.
Oh, yeah, right, okay, right, very good, thank you. Okay, and I don't, Mr. Rosselli or somebody, if you can explain to me this person-to-person transfer again and how, I was listening to you, but the whole, how the ordinance doesn't apply to this person-to-person transfers.
This present application's a renewal, so it's not a transfer.
Okay, but back prior.
Right, so this goes back to 2010. I only have a consent order. So the owner at that point wanted to transfer it to Red Zebra. Since the former owner filed the complaint, I don't have any documents or recall seeing any documents as to what occurred. It may be that they tried to utilize that particular Chapter 14 of the Township Code to say, no, they couldn't transfer it. But the consent order was entered by the township and the former owner, and that the court signed that allowed the transfer. And again, I only have the terms of the consent order. And the only thing I could, from when I read, my sense is that because the business was there long before the town adopted its ordinance, it was a pre-existing use. And the fact is that the court probably didn't feel it was appropriate to apply the provisions of Chapter 14 that would prohibit the transfer of this license to a new entity, given that they're going to continue the same operations. But again, I wasn't here in 2000.
No, I understand. So, all right, well, there's nothing we can do about that now. I think that I just disagree with what was done in 2010. There's obviously nothing that can be done about that.
And just to note, it was a consent order, so both parties had to sign off on it.
And just point of clarification, is it true that you mentioned you were granted a permit to hold outside activities during COVID?
Yes.
How would that have looked? Like what?
Well, that's what they gave
I
me.
mean, who, the township granted a permit?
I don't think the
I know that that's not relevant right now. I just want to
but
bring it
the
up.
permits were not issued.
This is what I want to know.
From the ABC.
Well, two things. We didn't control what the ABC allowed, right?
So the ABC granted a permit?
Right.
Okay.
The only thing the
That's what I'm
township
trying to
did was for
clarify.
eating establishments, when restaurants were closed,
Okay.
to allow that.
I just
So
wanted clarification on that because that sounded
there are a lot of different rules that popped up during that time.
strange. I didn't get the outlet because there was a bit of controversy as to the hours. If you can just mention your hours again.
When I was there, I was open on the weekends till 3 o'clock, which I believe is Friday, Saturday. I opened Sunday, I tried Sunday during the day, but that was because I had the sports package, and that was just a waste. I opened for lunch originally, and then we just opened up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, kept it open till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on the weekends.
Okay.
Just so you know, I do have, the reason that we don't use the front entrance is because it's considered a fire lane, so they don't let people park there, so even if I let them out the front, they'd still walk around the back to get to their cars.
Okay. And are you all objecting to all 6 of these conditions, or just some of them, or what specifically are you objecting to? I know you were talking one about the hours for the noise.
The first two are the tough ones. The rest we're okay with. And if you want to add language about parking lot security or buffering around on the side of the condos, we would be happy to add that as well.
So you're mostly concerned with 1 and 2?
1 and 2 would be a killer to the business.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Yes?
Anyone left have a question or a comment? Mr. Desai.
Council, you just said you agree.
Could you turn your mic on?
Sorry. Council, you just said you agree only on 2 conditions.
No, we agree with numbers 3 through 6 we're okay with, and we would be willing to add parking lot security and buffering, noise buffering, facing the condos.
Okay. See, I know this establishment since early 1980s, when I moved in this town. I think in the beginning in 80s, I didn't see much problem. There may be a few calls, but I heard since 1990, it was increasing. Because I live just maybe less than 2 miles away on Route 34, off Route 34. So and this particular development on Farrington Road, there are lots of young kids, to my understanding. And I think this kind of an establishment, and I'm appealing to our council, that this kind of establishment is not good for the quality of life and what we are showing it to our children. And my issue is only children. I'm not saying that this kind of establishment should not have there or anywhere, because they have a right to develop their property. But at the same time, you should listen to the neighbors. As they says, one insurance company, good neighbors. So that I used to say all the time, that please work with the neighbor. If neighbor has something reasonable, let's work with that. This condition is official condition by our officer, who has observed many phone calls came in the Old Bridge Police Department, and she started investigating. So this is only, I would say, maybe a 10% problem of the total problem. Because total problem only knows the neighbors. And Mr. Han, that establishment is there from years as I drive by that thing. Clean facility in a front of Route 34. So their establishment is there since early morning and in the late night. So they can say what is going on this particular establishment. If I have to vote on this motion, I don't think I can support this renewal. Because there were conditions before. I'm not sure what was condition before when they transfer from person to Red Zebra. That's only clerk or council can say if there was any, and is there any violation from that condition to now? Council?
What's that? I'm sorry. As far as front, back.
What I'm trying, when this license was transferred from old owner to Red Zebra, was there any condition?
Yeah, we don't have any record of that. I think I have something. The most recent renewal, the condition that was included
Yeah.
had to do with and this goes back to 2018. They had to continue, which it says continue, so my guess is that that was a condition before. Active use of digital surveillance system from inside the bar and the exterior parking lots. And then there was some deferred maintenance from Health Department report that was supposed to be included.
That's what I have. So, Mr. Rosoli, those condition was the last approval?
Yeah, those were imposed on Red
Is
Zebra.
there any violation reported from those conditions by our officer?
Not that I know, because it's an interior surveillance, so I would imagine.
It's there and it was provided to the police for some of the
Cases.
being investigated. So it was provided
Correct.
to the police department.
Right, and now we have actually, the clerk has handed me a license from 2017 where they didn't have that condition. So it looks like that condition for the digital surveillance was imposed in the renewal for 2018.
Mr. Desai, are you through, or do you? Are you through?
Okay, I think I'm not clear what was the condition established that time.
There was none in 2017. The
So-
condition was put in 2018.
Right.
That's what the law is.
And there is no violation of those conditions.
Correct.
I still believe that this establishment, after reviewing the memo from Detective Cafe, I personally think this is not a good application to approve. Thank you.
Okay. So I just want to be clear. You're saying you're against approval of the application of renewal?
Yes.
Okay. Even with this, with, just entirely? Okay. I just want to make sure I understand, Joe. Okay, thank you. Anyone else on this side, Mr. DePalma?
I have a question. So obviously, a lot of complaints have happened since November. What steps has the owners or the management taken from November till today to rectify any of it? Because it sounds like nothing has been done, besides bringing in the old manager who has not taken over yet, who will take over tomorrow, allegedly, or whenever, based off if we approve or not. What steps have been taken to rectify all the issues that have happened?
Well, I've been working with the detectives because Mr. Leader, who has the license when I worked for him before, so I've come down to the club, I've met the detectives, anything that they need, we supplied them, anything they wanted. As I said, I was getting my knees done, so I'm cleared, I can go back to work. As far as the music being too loud, you know, the bass, I know is an issue, it just has to be turned down. The amps, you turn them down. Put the decimal meters back on. I had security before. The security will be back. I had an outside company. I didn't have these problems.
So when did you get re-involved in everything?
I've always been involved because I was always helping them.
Obviously not since November.
But I wasn't going, I couldn't go to the club.
No, I
There's
understand
the second
that.
floor, the office, the cameras upstairs, I just couldn't do the steps.
No, because
Well, understand, if you will, this didn't all happen, you know, at one time, and it's more than certainly a numbers game. So, you know, we say there's 19 calls, or it was said there was 19 calls and 16 were noise. But when you look at every single report, they're not all founded. So, you know, there were, and they weren't litigated, they weren't adjudicated by a court. I don't believe there's a single conviction for anything. And I think that stuff is still pending. So when you read these reports, even reports that are referred to in your report, you know, it talks about the officer says, I'm gonna read it. This is one of the reports that was cited. This is the report for 5:20 at 2 a.m. This is the officer says, upon my arrival, I checked the parking lot and no one was playing loud music. As patrons were entering or leaving the business, I was able to hear loud music coming from the side, but when the door was closed, you were not able to hear the music. So it's not black and white. It wasn't that there's 19 calls and 16 sound complaints, and 16 of those sound complaints were founded. They weren't.
But I'm sure if we asked the residents, they probably could have called the cops every single night you were open as well, and our cops would have been there every single night. They're just getting to the breaking point. That's when they call the police.
I think you're
It may be conjecture, but I know I've driven past there at night, and I heard it with my windows closed. I've heard the bass and felt the bass from my car going down Route 34 at 40 miles an hour.
I only deal with the reports that.
No, I understand that.
I don't, you know, I don't have a daily log of what happened there or 20 minutes. But understand that the 16 noise complaints aren't 16 founded noise complaints, and there's not a single, I'm not aware of a single adjudication by the court. Sorry. I'm not aware of a single adjudication by the court. That's not to say there isn't a lot of improvement to be had here. Absolutely there is, and we are here willing to do it. We're happy to do it. But it didn't happen. It wasn't like, you know, alarm bells went off on November 10th to warn people. Some of this stuff they didn't know about. Some of it was not founded. There was a lot of these reports weren't founded. Again, it's not to say there wasn't, not to say
They weren't
there weren't
founded
issues.
because by the time the officer got there, the door was closed, the music was off.
Then you're going to base.
They came there.
Then
I base my decisions and my conversations off of what my residents say. Yes.
And just for the record, I'm sorry, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Lita back in January when I met with his management. When I met with his management as well, that was back in January when we all met along with the ABC, where we went over these issues that were arising within the approximate month and a half to 2 months that you were reopened under the new management. So you guys were well aware of the issues that were occurring at that point. You've already received township ordinance violations for, being open past the allotted time. And they were well aware of the noise complaints, et cetera. And it's been how many months since then? And instead of that subsiding, it's it's taken a hike. So they were well aware of that as well.
Okay, Mr. De Palma, anything else?
That's all.
All right, now I'll go to my right. Start with Mr. Garcia.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the public for coming out and speaking on this. I'm the councilman for your ward, so I take this stuff seriously. And I also want to thank Detective Caffey for putting this report together. I spoke to Mr. Sullivan last week. He advised me of all the issues going on. So I thank you as well for bringing it to my attention. Now, as a former police officer, I went to a lot of calls. And like you said, you go to a call, somebody complains, and I'm sure you guys have all legitimate complaints. You're not calling for the sake of calling. I get all that. But sometimes when you go to these places, the noises, it just goes away. They close the door, and I believe you all have valid. You're not just calling for the sake of calling, let's face it. You're calling because you all have valid complaints, and I agree with that. So, I mean, based on the recommendations from Detective Caffey, I think if you can't agree to all 6 recommendations, I certainly can't go ahead with approving them myself. There's no possible way. And as far as what Mr. Desai, Councilman Desai said, I get it, the business was here long before your buildings were there, and I don't like the idea of having that kind of establishment around kids as well. I'm not sure what we can do with that because that was before before the establishment, so that's a sticking point. But as far as the noise is concerned, like Councilman DePalma said, you guys had 6 months to fix it. Detective Caffey says nothing's been done since January. It's getting worse. So with these recommendations, I don't see how it could get better. I don't think it's going to get better. You said you could start tomorrow. Does that mean you're going to start tomorrow? Or you could start? I don't know what that means.
I'll start tomorrow.
I also got an email actually a little while ago, about 2 hours ago. I can read it to you real quick. The latest issue is the garbage bags piling up behind their buildings since they no longer have a dumpster that was getting emptied regularly. I am not only concerned about the smell, but also with rats and raccoons this garbage might attract. So that's a new issue we have besides the noise and all the other stuff. So we're getting more of issues.
I was there today before I came here because I was in New York and I had a change. And I took a picture to show Mr. Leader. The garbage company will be back there tomorrow.
Okay. Well,
It's not acceptable.
that was my latest comment. I wouldn't want to live next to that. I wouldn't want to smell it. I wouldn't want those rodents coming to my house. I just,
Live like that.
no, it's just totally disgusting.
Like that. I mean, I ran it very clean, pretty quiet. I turned the base down. I had security at the door, so when somebody left, before they went out, the door was closed, so they shouldn't hear the noise. People start their cars. It's really tough, to somebody that's on a motorcycle to.
I don't think the biggest complaint is so much the cause. I think it's just the noise coming from the building. That's the biggest issue we're having.
The decimal meters will be back up, the bass will be turned down. I have no problem turning the music down, I personally, when I drive my car, I don't listen to boom, boom, boom. I can't
Sure.
stand it.
You
70
and me
years
both.
old, I don't want to hear it, I just run, I've been in the business since '88, and I don't run my business like that. And I didn't
I understand.
run Mr. Leader's business like that.
I just don't, I don't think it's, like, as you know, it's been happening since November, January, and detective said it's only gotten worse. I don't know how you guys can fix it. As of now, if we don't agree to those 6 recommendations, I personally can't approve of it going forward. That's all I have. Thank you. And guys, real quick, if you guys need me, kgarcia@oldbridge.com. Please let me know. Thank you.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes, I have a problem with that. This started in November, now it's June, license up for renewal. All of a sudden, things are going to be fixed, and I believe the residents, and I want to thank Mr. Sullivan for coming with this great report to fill us in. I live not very far from there. I live about a half a mile from there, and I pass it quite often, and it was closed for quite a few years. As my recollection, it hasn't been open that long, and you people should not have to suffer like this. I agree with that. And the biggest problem I find is, let me read condition number 1. that they do not want to agree to. The Red Zebra shall not create any excessive noise or play music between the hours of 11:30 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, except for Saturday and Sunday, New Year's Day, wherein the hours shall be between 12:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. I don't see how they could say no to that. You should not be subjected to noise at this hour of night. It's not right. And if they cannot accept these conditions,
It's excessive noise or play music. We're okay with excessive noise. It says excessive noise or music. So we're okay to do music and not be excessive, but you.
well, your idea of excessive might be different than what it is to the residents that live there with the boom. I know what they're talking about, with that constant booming. They should not be subjected to that and all the other. I understand that. But why from November to now? Now, and another thing, if we were to approve this, there's 1 year that they have that liquor license for. And they can, what if they continue to have violations? We don't have any recourse, right? Mark, we don't have any recourse.
The court has, the police have recourse, the court has recourse. The police.
I'm speaking to our attorney.
Sorry.
I mean, if you, to the extent that you have conditions, right, and they violate the conditions, you can enforce the conditions for sure, right? And then ultimately, you know, that would be your force mechanism. I don't think the council and even the applicant agree that it's going to be renewed without conditions. I think that's clear. I think the question is what the conditions are. And then ultimately, that's the enforcement mechanism, is the enforcement of the conditions.
Yeah, and the courts were the one who, when we had the person-to-person transfer, said that we had to continue on with this type of place, even though we didn't want it in our town.
Anything else? Okay. Anyone else want to speak? Mr. Paschetti?
Yeah, I have a problem with you not accepting the, the rules they want to set forth. And, to me, if I lived around there and I was hearing that boom, boom, boom all night, it'd be aggravating to me too. I mean, we have a noise ordinance in Old Bridge, 10 p.m. And I know that, your establishment is a different thing than just regular noise. But, I mean, if I'm standing across the street in a house and I can hear the bass coming from your establishment, I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong, So, I can't support the way it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paschetti. Anyone else? Dr. Greenberg?
I always think it's good to be good neighbors, and you have less problems. And what I heard from the residents, from Mr. Zahn, who has his business next door, Mr. Sullivan, who gave excellent testimony and provided us with this information, which I appreciated very much, and who lives there, said, I heard it, and maybe I was wrong, everything was fine until this past November. Is that correct? Okay. So what is disturbing to me, what I heard, that nothing was rectified in that amount of time, in spite of all those complaints. Then also that I heard that you've been working and communicating with the police department since January? Okay. So I'm not sure when the police department came up with these 6 items that they wish you to comply with. But if you were negotiating with them and they said this is in January or February or March, whenever they said this, there had to be some discussion. So did you?
I'm sorry, we got this today at 4:15.
4:15. I've asked the detective, I've asked the town.
But wasn't there any conversation or consensus how we can improve things and what we need to do?
In further discussion with my client, they would accept all of the restrictions.
They will accept everything.
Yes. Sorry. About the mic.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to get,
Now, and I'm sorry, counsel, and then the one thing that's not in this, that would be a continuation of the prior condition, which was the use of the digital surveillance system as well.
We have surveillance out there now.
Right.
We give you the footage when you ask for it.
And there's going to be the parking lot monitor also, and then the dumpster or garbage pickup.
Okay, I'm just going to also just make one fast comment here. Just the email that Mr. Garcia received, how long ago, Kevin? Right, okay, so we've, obviously, there's been problems here. I mean, for the number of calls, and thank you, by the way, for all the documentation. Thank you for the presentation. But this has been ongoing. Now, again, you know that these residents have been so put out, they don't sleep. They hear noise, there's fighting, they're afraid. I mean, you heard them all come up. And now, in addition to that, you don't even have a dumpster to put the garbage in. How do you justify that to these people? It shows to me that really you're not trying to be the good neighbor that, that should be going on. Why should they have to have garbage in the back like that? It just, to me, this shows a lack of communication entirely. And that's really not a good thing at all. And I don't see any movement towards rectifying the problems for these. I'm just thinking to myself, would I want to be there at night? And no, and I'm not being, but it's the truth. And this is a very tough situation. Mayor, you wanted to speak as well?
Thank you, Council. I'd just like to ask the owner or the responsible person, do you remotely monitor your site? I know most business establishments, they know what's going on, they can see everything. Do you do that? You do. So you knew there was people in your building at 4 o'clock in the morning?
No, I have not been there.
No,
okay?
remotely. You
Since-
just said you
since
do it on your phone.
When I was there, I would see.
Why
the
would you
things
need your phone if
because-
you were there?
What?
You're making no
Because
sense,
I
sir.
go down- if I go-
When he was managing there.
When I was managing, okay?
What's your role now? Who's the person in charge? Who's responsible?
There's a manager now. There was a gentleman named Michael that they got rid of, and there's a gentleman named.
Whose building
Angel.
is it? Is it your building?
It's Mr. Leader's.
Do you monitor remotely what's going on in your building at all times of the day? No. Why? You don't want to know there's people in your building at 4 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to know there's a fight going on at 3:30 in the morning in your building, which you're responsible for, right? Liability lies with you. Wouldn't you want to know what's going on at your site?
I do want to know, but where can I be first? I work in construction, so I could imagine.
Council, these are excuses, unacceptable. Unacceptable excuses. We all work long hours, but if I had a business, I do have a business, and I know what's going on in it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, especially when police are called. I'm not getting it. So, Council, I don't want to go on and on with this, but Council, I would ask, at a minimum, you impose these conditions, you support the police department, and I'll be on the phone tomorrow with the health department. We had another establishment in town, similar. They came, they documented the sound, they came to court, they were issued, and everything was scientifically proven that the sound was traveling to the neighbors. That establishment no longer exists. So the health department will be monitoring the site now. And we won't have to worry about phone calls. They'll go across and shut it down. They'll pull the plug on your stereo system. So I just can't believe that you're that irresponsible. And we'll make sure that that's the key. But you're going to agree to all these 6. I would, please, Council, minimum. And if behavior changes, maybe you can relax some of the conditions. But I would be even more with the times of the day and the noise. After 10 o'clock, I wouldn't want to hear anything coming out of that building. You have a trucking company right behind you that a noise doesn't come out of. And it's a trucking company. I don't think you're being responsible owners at this point. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin?
Yes, thank you again. My concern is if we agree to go to hell with this, you guys agree to all the 6 recommendations. My concern is what recourse do we have going forward? I know the gentleman said we can go to court. That's all fine and good, but how long will it go to court? How long will it get held up in court? In the meantime, will they still be open for 6 more months? and neighbors dealing with this nonsense. That's my concern. So I sort of want you to, I'm happy you're agreeing to the 6th, but I don't know what recourse we have. What recourse do they have? That's my concern. If I knew it went to court like a week later and it was heard within a week, then I'm fine with that. But courts take forever, you know that. It could be another 6 months before it's heard, and they have to deal with the complaints, and it's not going to stop. So thank you, I'm sorry.
Madam Council President, could I speak? In no way is the community looking to rid the business or eradicate the business. The business has been there a long time. The liquor license, if you probably shut him down, he'll sell it, and another establishment will come in. We understand that. We're just looking, as the term was used, good neighbors. The recommendations made by the police department are strong, and I, as a spokesman for the community, and I don't see anybody arguing, I think they're very good. It was their responsibility to take care of these issues. They did not. We're not looking to close them down. Small business is obviously the backbone of the economy. We look forward to that continuing, but in a quiet way. They can contain their noise in the building. As I said, they want to put buffering offer to buffering of shrubbery. There's no need for that. Put the buffering inside. Put some noise control within the building itself so you can keep the noise inside. There's a 6-foot fence, plastic fence. There's no room for buffering. I like the offer. We don't need that either on our side or theirs. I wouldn't put that onus on them.
Wouldn't do anything anyway.
No, of course not. But it was a nice offer. But we're not looking to put them out of business. It's certainly the council's decision of what to do with the license. But we really do want them to try and be good neighbors. That's all we're asking. We'd like to sleep at night. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right. One else, one last call here, bite at the apple? Anybody? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did we get an answer as to the recourse? It can go, if they don't comply, it can be dealt with in the courts?
Yeah, you can, and plus, look, you're right, nothing happens overnight, right? That's just the judicial system. You know, again, including, we have the noise ordinance. We've used, as the mayor had referred to, we used the noise ordinance previously with respect to another establishment in which noise complaints were received by the township. And, you know, the town took the necessary action and to justify and prove that the decibel levels, you know, violated the requirements. So, right, it's not without recourse. Certainly, I would think that to the extent that it continues after these conditions are imposed next year, and even though you enforce it, the likelihood of getting a renewal gets even less, and I don't think that's in their best interest as well.
Right. 'Cause I'm just, again, also concerned, you know, as I had mentioned in the beginning, you know, when my first comment, you know, you've known about these problems since November, and now we're here in July. And that's my concern. It wasn't taken seriously, and I'm concerned that it won't be taken seriously moving forward. You know, lots and lots of complaints that were not acknowledged. And I know, sir, that you are unable to get there, but I believe the owner should have stepped up and done something more. It's not on you, you weren't there. The owner should have stepped up and done something more, and it shows, like, you know, definitely a lack of responsibility.
I have no problem fixing it immediately.
But you
100%.
did say that you had been working with, you know, and you've been trying to, but I don't see, according to the residents, nothing has been done. So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Walker?
I just have a question for Mark. This 11:30 PM conflicts with our 10 PM noise ordinance, so how are they allowed to make noise between 10 and 11:30?
The question is the violation of the ordinance of whether or not it's excessive or not, right? So it's not you can't make any noise. You have, if it's excessive, then you have to prove it's excessive. That's how you have to take those steps.
That seems kind of a long time between 10 and 11:30 to be making noise. If I lived around.
But it's not that you can't, it's not that you.
No, I know you can't,
Right,
but.
right. The question is
says-
whether or not it's excessive or not.
Right.
And so then the question, that's where the enforcement mechanism comes out. Otherwise, everybody makes noise at some point, right? I mean, you know, so the application of the ordinance has to be based in connection with, what's occurring, the events, and whether or not, it's sustained or not. So you can't look at, I don't think you can look at it myopically, the fact that there's music being played. The question is, when the music's played, is it excessive so that it's disturbing everybody? When it gets to that point, that's when we take the action that we need to take, and we take the steps that we need to take in order to cite them.
I wish we could do something conditional, so they'd come back like in a month or two, and we could see if things improve, because I hate to have to wait another year, and these people have to suffer for another year. That's what's worrying me. Is there something like that?
Well, I mean, you could, to the extent that you want to condition that, from a perspective of, you're going to look at it, I'm just trying to think of how you would characterize that.
Probation.
Well, I don't know, I guess. Because I think you have to make application for that. Yeah, I don't think that would be enough time. I don't know what the amount of time that you would look to, because obviously, if you look at, say, in a month, my perspective, a month wouldn't be enough of a time period to see if they're working or not, right? Because, looking at it from a longer perspective, right, to see from that perspective, you would need a longer amount of time to ensure that they're complying with the conditions.
You can approve it for 90 days?
Would the applicant consider, interim type of approval, so that? After 6 months, if there's any complaints, that they have to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, if they're in violation, you can't shut them down. There's no way.
More conditions on. Yeah, but those would be the conditions, that they come back in 6 months. And if they either agree that the extent that they're violating these conditions, that they'll agree to impose additional conditions. I know. Right. No, but if they're agreeing to come back in 6 months because the conditions are being violated, then they would reappear in front of council, and then give a council the opportunity to impose additional conditions.
So, Mr. Roselli, the
Yes.
answer is yes, they would consent to a 90-day probationary period, however you want to term it.
That's fine. I think look, if I recall, there's a interim license that you can receive. I believe the way it is, it's 30 days. an ad interim, and you have to make application so that it lasts for 30 days, and then you make another ad interim application. I think it's a $70 filing fee. Right, exactly. And I think that if that is something that would be acceptable, that would get you at least the 90 days on an ad interim basis with these conditions being included as part of, you complying with those conditions on an ad interim basis.
Yeah, I might need some guidance from Ms. Hutchinson on that, but if we can get it done, because I think, don't we have to be in by the end of the month?
Yes.
And the application is to the state. It's not to me. I don't grant an ad interim permit. So the fee, all the fees go to the state of New Jersey, the ABC, the Alcohol and Beverage Control. So I'm just
I
not
can't-
positive for the reasons that if we're,
I can't.
what they can get an ad interim permit for. Like if we
I think
don't
that might
renew
be
them, they can operate.
If we don't renew them, they can't operate until there's an appeal, they file an appeal.
I don't think we can accomplish that by the end of the month.
Because we have till the 30th as of the.
I believe it's something that can be taken care of in 2-3 days. If you apply to the state, you speak to the state, it's not like a lengthy process. As far as I know, I mean, we don't, as the township, of course, we don't need them, but
Sure.
applicants I know before have applied for them, and I don't want to say it takes weeks and weeks.
It's just going to be very tight.
You may have to make a visit to ABC.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking, though, is that if you approve the renewal, with the conditions that they approve, that it would be on the condition that the applicant would agree if in fact, after we investigate that there's any violations or additional complaints, that they would come back in front of council to the extent that, that for the purposes of reviewing the conditions, and it's going to be, it would have to be embodied that if necessary, additional conditions would be imposed as well, if we find that these conditions are not acceptable or not working. From what I can tell, there's no, other than these interim renewals, there doesn't seem to be a situation where you have necessarily a 6-month renewal, right? It's just a matter of imposing conditions on the renewal. And so I don't know, they may not have sufficient time for the interim. They can always, we still have, I think ultimately the town has 90 days ultimately to make a decision one way or another once the application is filed, or else it would be deemed denied. So we'd be within that, within that 90-day timeframe as well. So I'm just not sure that particular process, how that would work. If we didn't approve it, have the applicant go back for ad interim, they would have to do it 3 times. And then at that point, that would give the council enough time, possibly the applicant enough time to see how it's operating. And then the town ultimately actually adopts a resolution with the conditions that were recommended by the police department. We could try it on that basis.
I think it would be a lot safer from our perspective, certainly, to do it through the township rather than through the state.
Yeah.
I have much more faith.
Yeah, and I understand that. I understand that from that perspective. How about as far as the applicant agreeing, indicated that they would agree to a review every 90 days?
Yes.
on the conditions, a review every 90 days. And then to the extent that the violations are violations, conditions are being violated, the applicant would agree to close operations until the conditions are rectified to the satisfaction of the township. How's that, council?
We're able to enforce that after 90 days then?
What's that?
We're able to enforce that?
Yeah, I think, again, there's a good faith here, right? So the applicant said they're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to accept the conditions. We review it. Police department can review it, look at every 90 days, see if the violations increase, then they'll be required to come back in front of council. And then the council at that point, to the extent that, we show the violations, that the applicant then, if we see that they're violating their conditions, that the applicant will agree to close operations until such time as they put adequate safeguards in place to address the noise complaints and the violations. And then that's, again, part of what they'll agree to do. And then once the township's satisfied, that would be permit them to reopen.
What is considered now as far as complaints are concerned? How do you determine how many complaints?
Well, I think.
No, I'm just trying to, I don't mean to be.
Look,
I'd really
it's not a
like to
perfect
know-
science, right? I mean.
No, I get
right.
that, but
So
I
you're
mean,
you're
now,
right.
how?
Right. So I think from a perspective of, is one probably not. I think you have to use, be objective as to what's going on and the amount of time that the police department, if they have to, can you go down there? I mean, I think that's the obvious part. But I don't know other than renewing with the conditions or just denying it. Having this interim is a solution where, again, based upon even what Mr. Sullivan had said, the residents aren't looking to close them down. So we're trying to devise a term, a way for them to continue to operate, but to put reasonable conditions so they can continue to operate.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that, the residents are at the forefront as far as what the complaints are concerned, because, again,
I think both the residents and the police department, right? I mean, look, to the extent that we need to, if the chief finds that the police department spend a lot of time down there, too much time, I mean, I don't think there's an exact science. I think, it's one of those things where prior to this year, we didn't have those complaints. Now we just do. I mean, so just trying to come up with
When the police go down there and they either see that the complaint is valid or not, they're going to put it in their report. So when we're evaluating complaints, we would make sure that those are valid complaints.
Yeah, I think, like, when you read through read some of the reports that were filed at the incident reports, I think a lot of the times what happens is, since they were open so late, by the time, when the department, somebody responded, the condition no longer existed, because it looked as if a lot of those occurred after 3 a.m., right? So as business was winding down. So, you've reduced the hours tremendously. So I think, that looks as if that's when a lot of those incidents were occurring. We're in the 2 to 3 a.m. hour. And when you're talking about closing, stopping at 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m., even with lead time, you're not at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Madam President, I'd be more than willing to come back in support of them if they comply and they act as good neighbors. I'll be the first one to come in here and say that they have complied.
Are we going to regroup after 3 months and come back, and then maybe Mr. Sullivan could report to us?
I'll gladly come back.
That would be perfect.
And I would support them. I want their business to succeed, just not at our expense of the sound.
Oh, no, understood. We none of us are anti at all. We just, like I said, when we hear these things and, people are not sleeping and people are afraid, you want to make sure that the message is clear. We'll work together, but they have to be really put to the forefront first.
Absolutely, and if I'm notified, I'll gladly come back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know that you have to have a review every 90 days. I think we internally, from the township's perspective,
Should there be one, I would.
right, exactly, right. Look at it every 90 days and see what's going on there, right? And then track it, right? So that they're not they're going to stay on the radar, right? And I would say this, I would all caution is that, look, if there's a violation, but I would say if there's a violation of any of the 7 conditions, because there's a 6 and 7, right? Then that's a basis for the town for them to require to stop operating until such time as they, comply, or take steps to ensure that they'll continue to comply.
Mr. Desai, I believe you had your hand up.
I like the idea Mr. Council has thrown to us, but again, I caution everyone. I'm looking Officer Cafe's memo, second page, from February to June, in 5 months, there is 5 citations, and 3 citations are repeated loud music. So I don't trust this particular establishment, because there was a citation, why they didn't do something? Every month, see, February citation at 1 a.m. for assault. March 13, loud music at 2:03 a.m. April 16, 3:39, loud music again. May 28, 2 a.m., loud music again. June 4, 3:57, aggravated assault. So, when the first citation was issued, they did not care. They say, who cares? Police department can issue the citation, will pay the fine. So they don't have respect for the established laws and the rules of the township. And second thing, they have no concern about neighborhood quality of life and young children's well-being. So I'm still worried and not fully on the board, but the idea which our council, Mr. Razzoli, threw it to us. But then we have to support our police department. One violation, lock. I think that is a problem we may be lacking. As Mayor said, we have to support our police officer. They are doing their job, but we are not supporting. I'm not saying we are not supporting on this particular case. So we should support them fully. They have full authority. If there is a violation, just lock them, let them go to court. Thank you.
You. Anyone else? Dr. Greenberg?
I just want to be clear with Mr. Sullivan, you're representing development there, so you're speaking on behalf of the people there.
I am, and many of them are here.
Okay, and a few people have come up and they've complained, once again, it was from November till now. You're stating that as long as they follow these 7 conditions, and that there's 7, they added one.
Plus the original
They
one.
added one about the surveillance, okay. That if they comply with that and they don't have any, you're okay with this business conducting
Keep
itself?
their noise in their building, we're good.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Well, it's the whole premises.
Okay.
Anyone else on council? No? Okay, all right. Now,
Can I just clarify one thing? Yeah, so are we about to take a vote on what Mr. Roselli proposed, or?
for him to come.
So what we need
Okay.
to do actually is, the statute requires that a resolution be adopted, so we're going to have to, at some point, recess, go back and draft a resolution to include all the conditions, include the conditions of a review every 90 days by the Township Police Department to ensure compliance with the conditions. And as I said, and I would agree, and to the applicant, the only way to really put pressure is that if the Township Police Department determines that there is a violation of any one of the conditions, then that would be a basis for which you would have to cease operation until you rectify the violation or condition to the satisfaction of the police department. Agreeable?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
So,
I personally would like to see them come back every 3 months. I know you talked about a review.
Well, I don't, I mean, if there's not a reason for them to have to come back, that's the only thing I'm saying is,
I mean, a lot of people come back without, to get them renewed, and there's no, a lot of the liquor licenses, that get renewed didn't have any issues, but they come in. I would like to see them, in front of us personally every 3 months, regardless, just so we can touch base. I mean, that's up to you. I mean, that's just,
do you have any objection to have a representative?
If that's what's required.
well, then there's a review. And the police, naturally.
I'd like to hear it after 3 months, have the residents,
Right,
if they
that's-
feel it's
that's-
cleaned up.
Yeah.
give them the
'Cause they're the
opportunity.
ones who know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Sullivan agrees. Then it's a different thing.
No, we're gonna have to, I mean, we're gonna have back, we'll come back and adopt the resolution. I think, why don't you finish the other items, the consent agenda?
Next will be our consent agenda, and I will ask for a motion and a second, and then bring it out for separation.
Move it.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli, and now I will ask for council separations.
Councilperson DeCaro, any items for separation?
None.
Councilperson De Palma? No, thank you. Councilperson Desai?
No.
Councilperson Garcia?
None, thank you.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli?
No, thank you.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
No separation, thank you.
Council Vice President Walker?
No, thank you.
Council President Sohar?
No, thank you. Okay, so now roll call, please.
Roll call for the full consent agenda. Councilperson DeCaro?
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma?
Yes.
Councilperson Desai?
1 second, please.
He's on here again for,
This is not for this.
no, I guess not. Woodhouse, Coconut Keg, Sammy D's.
Okay, there's no registered bride consent.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Councilperson Garcia?
None, thank you.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli?
Thank you.
Councilperson Pasquitti?
Separation. Oh, yes, this was for separate.
No, this is.
No, we're voting for these.
Yeah.
We did separations already, right? We're voting?
You were voting,
Yes,
yes, yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti said yes. Council Vice President Walker?
Yes.
Council President Sohar?
Yes.
Yes.
8 yeses.
See, that's for another thing, I'm like,
Okay, so next will be public comment on any subject matter for a maximum period of 3 minutes. Kate, are you going to read the provisions? Okay.
Just give me
Be
1
right
second,
with it.
sir.
She just has to read something into the record.
All over the place here. The public comment portion of our meeting is to allow the public to bring to the council's attention their concerns or comments. This section is open for any topic or items in the consent agenda in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12A and the Old Bridge Rules of Council. Council asks the public to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. Only one member of the public shall approach to speak to council at a time. The council will respect the public's time by refraining from any comment until the speaker has finished with their allotted time. Should be further noted that the public comment portion of our meeting is not structured as a question and answer session. If a member of the public has questions they seek answers to, an appointment can be made with the corresponding department's office during regular business hours. Township clerk will regulate the time.
Okay. Good evening.
Just whether or not you're a resident, please,
Yes, I'm a resident.
okay?
In fact, my name is Jack Masterson, and I live on Pendleton Place in Spring Hill Village. And that's what brings me here is we received notice at Spring Hill Village. I'm also vice president of the association. We received notice that we had to take our speed humps out on Pendleton Place for fire reasons. We had those put in legally years ago. And when we repaved a couple years ago, we installed them again. and they're speed humps, not speed bumps, which there was a big, when we had them built, there was a big difference implied. Speed bumps are those high, very narrow things that you have to stop at almost to get over. These had to be designed so wide and so broad on the road and only so high, just to slow traffic down, not to completely stop it. And then all of a sudden, the township came around and said they now have to be removed. And it's quite an expense. It's $6,000 to $10,000. We're getting prices to remove it. Well, in the meantime, about a month ago, the township installed speed humps over at the middle school, the same type of speed humps we have, and it's marked in a fire lane. And the reason that they were coming out was because of the fire trucks. So I have to bring to your attention the fact that you're asking residents to take out speed humps while you're installing them yourselves in a fire lane. So, and this is a great expense to us. This is $6,000 to $10,000 for 145 homes, and that's above our allotment to spend without it in the budget. So we have to get a special assessment for that. And that's why I'm bringing it to your attention.
But what entity gave you direction in
The
this?
fire marshal.
Okay, so
Notified our manager.
okay, the fire is different than the township. They're a separate entity.
Right.
Okay, so we have to see.
It's the fire district that enforces that, it's not the township. And when you're speaking of the next hump, their Board of Ed.
Well, the fire marshal told me it was that the township council is the one who made the decision to enforce this.
To enforce
I
not
spoke
having
to
them,
the
to
fire
having.
marshal.
Okay,
So to have us remove
move them.
Yes, he got permission from the town council to have us remove them. That's why I'm here.
Okay. All right. All right.
Our manager spoke with him. I spoke with him personally on a couple occasions.
Okay, well, we will reach out and see,
Right.
communicate as to what's going on with it.
Okay.
All right, thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Desai.
I candidly remember the fire marshal of all district came here and make a presentation to us. Even that time, I had argued the same case, Pendleton Place, Spring Hill Village, that this is unfair. But as Mr. Masterson say, before coming to meeting, I went to Sandberg Middle School. And in the front parking lot of the front door, there are two speed hump and in a fire lane. So why we have a two separate rule for private entities and public entities? If safety are concerned at the Sandberg Middle School for the student and the teacher, then we have the same issue. One of the speed hump we have in Spring Hill Village, there is a children's playground. And that's why we need that. So
The
I
reason we
think,
put them in is because Pendleton Place connects Route 34 to Route 9, and people cut through a lot. So we
Yeah.
were years trying to get them in. Even at the beginning, when I moved in there 39 years ago, we tried to put them in, and we could not. There came a point in time when we got permission to put them in, must be 15 years
everybody
ago now.
from Route 516
So
and
that's just to
Higgins
slow
Road
the
come
traffic
here.
down.
Do you
So
have
safety
private roads? Are they private roads or are
We had
they,
the.
are they turned
the
over to
boards
the
are
town?
private. The main road,
The main
Pendleton
road is-
Place, has been dedicated
Right.
years ago, so.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. We will
All right.
be in touch.
Thanks.
Anybody else from the
Is there
public?
anyone else in the public? Okay, seeing no hands, we will close the public portion. And we'll go to council member comments.
Councilperson DeCaro, any comments?
I didn't really have too much to say, other than, I do want you guys to succeed, and I really truly hope that this 3-month probational time for you all is something that, where now you're going to be taking over, and, and this way, I think it's up to us to do our due diligence with the 3 months, and we're all working together, making sure that the residents are, okay and happy. And, everyone is playing nice in the sandbox, so, and I think that I definitely am happy with the 3-month probationary thing and having you guys come. And I truly, wish you guys success, and I hope that you, take this seriously, as I think you do. So, I just wanted to say that. So, everybody is going to be happy, and, I'm hoping that our residents are happy with that. As far as Mr. Masterson is concerned, it's funny, when I first got on the council, I talked about speed bumps, on Phillips Drive. And, here we are talking about speed bumps again. And I specifically pointed out that development and, oh, that's a private development. That's why, it's okay for them. And now here we are, a few months later, they're being told to take their speed bumps out. But I was told, it was regardless, it doesn't matter. It's not private, and the road that I wanted the speed bumps on were not private, not huge speed bumps, but speed humps. And, Sandburg has speed bumps. We have speed humps right here in the municipal thing on the way out. So, I think we all need to, get on board with exactly what we're approving and what we're not approving. And, I understand this is the fire department, fire marshal, but, we all do work together and, for everyone. So we can't, have two separate entities not connecting with each other. So other than that, I've got nothing else to say. I haven't, congratulations to the high school graduates. And that's it. Thank you.
Councilperson De Palma.
Only thing, I hope everyone has a wonderful summer. And I know over the past couple days, especially I think it was 2 nights ago, we had a car stolen. Just a reminder to folks, it's not your fault, but please make sure that you are locking your car, keeping your key fobs far away from your car, far away from your house. Unfortunately, we are living in a time where our criminals are not afraid because of some of the mandates that have come down that have kind of handcuffed our police. So we have to all be diligent ourselves. So please, for the safety of yourself, your family, and your belongings, please make sure that you're locking your cars and keeping all of those electronic devices that can open your car away from it, especially when you're asleep at night. Thank you.
Councilperson Desai.
I think today's discussion about this renewal of liquor license was good discussion, and I think very active participation from Mr. Sullivan, good presentation, and also the neighbors on Farrington Court, all those neighbors. See, if neighbors and public participate in any kind of a discussion, that gives us second look, so we understand what's going on. Because sometimes we just rely on an applicant or our professional. But you are there every day and night. So when you come and say something, we see something different. So I thank you for your participation, and this issue is still going to be continue, and hopefully it will come to the good conclusion for everybody's betterment. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilperson Garcia.
Oh, yes, thank you. I also want to thank the residents for coming out tonight. You guys let us know what's going on. We're here to help you guys. We're here to help all of Old Bridge, not just Ward 1, all of Old Bridge. So without your participation, we don't really have, not that we don't have an idea, but it just helps when you guys come out and bring this to our attention. Because like I said, we are here to help you all. And I hope as well, I hope it works out for both parties. I think it's going to. I think tonight's meeting was positive, and I really hope it does work out. And with that, everybody have a happy 4th of July, and enjoy the rest of your summer. Thank you. And any questions, get a hold of me. Thank you.
Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes, I just want to say Happy Independence Day. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless America.
Councilperson Piscitty.
Yes, happy Independence Day to everybody. In regards to the speed bumps, that was an ordinance passed many, many years ago, before my time. So when the fire department decided that it was not in their interest to have speed bumps throughout the town, the ordinance was passed. Now, if you look closely, there's no, hypocrisy. Okay, there are no speed bumps around the municipal building, as far as I know. And the Pendleton Drive was a private road, and that's when they installed the speed bumps, when it's private. It's their road, they can do what they want. Then they dedicated the road to the town, became the town's property. Now it's against town ordinance. That's why they have to remove it. Not saying whether it's right or wrong, just that's what it is. The school's land is private. It's owned by them. They can do what they want to their roads. So that's the school board. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes, I want to wish everyone a happy, healthy 4th of July, and I want to thank the residents for coming out tonight to keep us informed. And also, you can reach me at dwalker@oldbridge.com. I'd like you to keep me updated on how the noise is going there. I'd appreciate that. And I'd like to address the speed bumps again for hopefully the last time. My husband's been a volunteer for 37 years on Cheesequake Fire, and so I've known why speed bumps are not allowed. And we had an extensive presentation here from first aid, ambulance, and fire department explaining why the speed humps are bad for the town. Pendleton Road was private, it's public now, and that's why, like Mr. Piscitty said about the Board of Ed. So if you need the fire company to explain again to you why the speed humps are no good, we could have them come again. Thank you.
And Council President Sohar.
Yes, I also naturally happy and healthy 4th of July. And the residents spoke and we listened and we heard you. So I think it was a good exchange. I'm glad you came and you let us know what was going on from your perspective, because you are our priority in some ways. When it comes to quality of life, you're our priority. And we want a business to thrive, but it has to be balanced. And this was not balanced. So hopefully in the future, it will be. And we do have a short window of time so that if there is, something going on, you do have a place to come to and to speak to it. So that I'm very glad about. As far as humps and bumps are concerned, again, I live in a private development and I have speed bumps. So we're not allowed, we don't have to take them out. However, we are doing a lot of other things to try to curb the speeding aside from just the hump and bump. We have solar signs now on a lot of the streets. There's Oakland and there's Valley Vale and Morganville and so on, Phillips Drive, where they are, solar. They tell you how fast you're going. They tell you to slow down. I'm hoping that they will have a positive effect. I don't know. Do you think you've seen any good things from this? Well, that's what I mean. No, but seriously. Right.
Chief.
Okay, yes. Acting Chief, can you just?
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very much. Okay, because as I said, we have been definitely trying to find other means, not, just the humps and bumps. And I'm hoping that we see something positive from these signs. And then there's other things that we're also looking into trying to do.
We'd have to pull the data to see before and after the installation of the signs to actually have a hard factual basis for
I mean,
the
I've got
signs are
good
working.
feedback from the residents. They've
Yeah.
told me they've seen some positive on their street. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping, that this continues.
Yeah, it definitely does. I think everybody's aware of it. We get a lot of phone calls about speeding vehicles. We send traffic safety out. They do their analysis. We sit there and unmarked cars, send a lot of marked cars down the road, making our presence known. So we're seeing an impact. But like everything else, you know, we'll move on to another street where there's a problem, and then the street that was no longer a problem becomes a problem again. So
Well,
we're everywhere,
trying to-
but yeah.
Yeah, and people have asked about them, getting them for their area. So I
course.
think people are, are positive about it, think that it's going to be a help. So I'm just hoping that, this and other things that are being put in motion really help people just slow down. But, it's not an easy thing to achieve at all. Okay, well, thank you very much for your input.
you.
Okay, thank you, and have a good evening. I'll ask now for a recess? Okay. Yeah, we're coming back, correct? Yes. Okay, so we need a motion for a recess.
Second.
Okay, moved by Dr. Greenberg Belli, second by Mrs. Walker.
Roll call, Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson DePalma. Yes. Councilperson Desai. Yes. Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Councilperson Pasquitti.
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes.
Council President Selhar.
Yes, thank you very much.
Brief recess at 8:27
You gonna
p.m.
stay?
Okay, I'd like to take a motion to come back into session.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Roll call. Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson DePalma.
Yes.
Councilperson Desai.
Here.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli. Yes. Councilperson Paskiddy.
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes.
We adjourn at 8:59.
Madam President, do you have a resolution for the renewal of the Red Zebra license? Just for the record, I'll read it. Resolution granting application for plenary retail consumption license renewal for Red Zebra LLC, Gentlemen's Club, license number 1209-33-009-003 for the 2023-2024 license term with conditions. Whereas the applicant listed below has applied. Which one is it? Whereas the applicant below has applied to the Township of Old Bridge in the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, for the renewal of their plenary retail consumption license. And whereas they have complied with the rules governing the renewal of alcoholic beverage consumption license, paid the fee, and objections, that's not true. And objections having been received to the renewal of the license, now therefore be it resolved that the Township Clerk of the Township of Old Bridge being is hereby authorized to issue the applicant a renewal of their plenary consumption license with conditions. Period, January 1, 2023 to January 30th, 2024. Effective date, July 1, 2023. Licensees Red Zebra LLC, a Gentleman's Club, 238 Highway 34, Matawan, New Jersey, 07747. License number 1209-33-001-003. Conditions: continued active use of the digital surveillance system from inside the bar and the exterior parking lots. Deferred maintenance is outlined by the Health Department. Must be abated and must abide by all regulations of Chapter 27 sanitation and retail food establishment and food and beverage vending machines dated February 2, 2007. The Red Zebra shall not create any excessive noise or play music between the hours of 11:30 p.m. and 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, except for Saturday, Sunday, and New Year's Day, when the hours shall be between 12:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. 4, the Red Zebra shall close its establishment at 12 a.m. midnight, Monday through Friday, except for Saturday, Sunday, and New Year's Day, wherein the establishment shall close at 1 a.m. Number 5, there shall be no loitering of any such. There shall be no loitering in the rear parking lot of the establishment. Number 6, all exterior doors to the Red Zebra must be closed at all times while the establishment is open for business and music is playing. Number 7, a smoking area must be designated in the front of the business, Route 34 side, which shall be monitored by the personnel of the Red Zebra to ensure there is no loitering occurring or excessive noise making. Number 8, the Old Bridge Police Department has been granted authorization to install a community crime camera outside on the building with the Red Zebra providing power and internet if OBD feels the need to do so. OBD will supply the camera, all wiring, and install the camera. OBD will coordinate with the Red Zebra if they decide to proceed. Number 9, a designated representative of the licensee, upon notice from the township, shall appear before the Township Council at council meetings in October 2023, December 2023, March 2024, and June 2024 for purposes of reviewing the renewal of this license and to ensure that the licensee is in compliance with all the conditions set forth herein. In the event the Township's Police Department determines, after an appropriate investigation, that the licensee has violated any of the conditions set forth herein, or if a representative of the licensee fails to appear at a council meeting as required herein, the licensee shall immediately close its operations until such time as the licensee addresses/remediates the violation to the satisfaction of the Township Police Department and Township Council. Questions?
I have a question for Mr. Roselli. Mr. Paschetti?
Yes, if there is any situation where we need to view the video. Would we be able to do that?
They have that right now. Video for,
We can view it? The council?
well, I don't know about that. I think it has to go through the Township Police Department first. I wouldn't say council would have, depending what's on it. It's like anything else.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Else?
The applicant agreed to the conditions as stated. The record, yes. Counsel for the applicant indicates yes.
Okay, can we have a motion for approval?
Move it.
I'll second.
So it's moved by Mr. De Palma, second by Mr. Garcia.
Roll call. Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Desai.
No.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Councilperson Paskiddy.
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes.
Council President Sohar. 7 yeses and 1 no.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll take them. Okay, have a good night. Have a good night, okay? I'll make a motion, ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Walker, second by Mr. De Palma.
Roll call for adjournment. Councilperson DeCaro.
Yes.
Councilperson De Palma.
Yes.
Councilperson Desai.
Yes.
Councilperson Garcia.
Yes.
Councilperson Dr. Greenberg Belli.
Yes.
Councilperson Paskiddy.
Yes.
Council Vice President Walker.
Yes.
Council President Sohar.
Yes, thank you very much.
9:07.
Okay, good night.